All right, I'm here with John, the VP of Agency Distribution for Coterie Insurance. Um, we appreciate you coming on today and talking about kind of what you guys are looking for in agents.
Of course, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to do this.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about give me the 30,000 foot view on how did Coterie come to be? Were you part of the brainchild idea process?
I wasn't. I was a partner with them from very early days, but this is a brainchild of David McFarland, our CEO and founder. David is an actuary by trade, actually, so he is someone you can blame for rates being too high, depending upon the type of business that you do. So he's been in the industry for a very long time. Worked for NCCI, some mutual insurance companies, has been around the industry for a long time, so really understands how it works. Always understood that technology could be something that was utilized to really change our industry. And this is actually his second startup. So he's a founder at Clear Cover Insurance Company, which is another Insuretech startup.
Yep.
But from his time at NCCI, I always thought that he could really make a difference in the small commercial world and bring a lot of value, both from speed and simplicity on binding a piece of business, right? And $1,000 account should not take the same amount of time it takes to bind $50,000 account.
Right.
Historically, sometimes it would take longer, which didn't make a lot of sense. So he knew he could disrupt that. And from an underwriting model standpoint, knew that we could bring in, there's a lot more data out there with cloud technology to be brought in and really change the paradigm on the underwriting model, pricing, and risk segmentation. So David found some other entrepreneurs in the Cincinnati area and founded Coterie in 2018.
That's really cool. So tell me about the platform and just kind of because I mean that's really your guys' special sauce, right? Is your platform and the technology that you bring to the table for agents to be able to get in there, easily quote, easily bind, and just making the process a little more easy. Is that a fair statement?
That is an absolutely fair statement. I mean, our three core tenets are going to be speed, simplicity, and service, right? So we have to service the business well as well. But from the front end standpoint, we do believe we have the easiest system on the market, the fastest system on the market. The amount of inputs are very minimal, and we're excited in the future. We're working on a system and a release that is even less inputs, if you can believe that. But we are underwriting, right? There is underwriting models in the background. We're using data enrichment right now. We're going to further enhance that as we further evolve our product. And that is enabling us to have inputs be low, but still be confident in underwriting results for a long-term viable success of a company.
Sure. So walk me through the quote platform. So I'm on CoterieInsurance.com. I'm assuming we'd go somewhere to log in.
Yeah.
And tell me like, because we talked about this a little bit before the call, that you guys are taking like basically 80% of all small businesses. Mm-hmm. So your appetite, you pride yourself on being very, very wide. Yeah. Walk me through, like I log in and then how long from the time that I start, like, obviously knowing that I have the information on the client to quote, right? Mm-hmm. How long from the time that I click, start a quote or begin a quote or whatever it is to I have a bindable rate?
Great question. There's a few answers there. You had a couple questions, but I'll answer the speed first. From beginning to end, if you're really fast, honestly, it can be under 2 minutes. If you're medium pace, it's probably 3.5 minutes or so. And if you're like my mom or dad, it might take you 4 or 5 minutes if you're hunting and pecking. But I mean, that's all on speed of entry, right?
Yeah.
And those that really get to know our system can fly through the system. The biggest thing is going to be classifying correctly, right? So making sure that you understand the actual nuances of the risks that you're placing based upon, the class codes and how they impact appetite and how we want the business to be classified.
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, go ahead. So
I was going to say, we do have some tools to help with that too. So we have an instant qualification checker. So we've tried to truncate some of the NAIC codes, the NAICS codes together. So it makes it a little more simplified. So it's not just like you type in accountant and 19 different variations of the class code appear. We try to truncate and layer those together so that way those that are within appetite all come together, those that are out of appetite all come together. So then if kind of segmenting it so it's easier to classify as well on the front end.
Sure. Okay. So, so what about people that are doing like, so our history before our current life was in construction insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of our clients that have like, 2 or 3 different class codes that they operate within.
Yep.
If all of those are qualifying class codes with you guys, is that an eligible?
Absolutely. Great question. So contractors especially could be doing multiple things. They're a segment that's probably more sensitive to this than any other segment in our business. So we're going to rate off the primary operations for pricing and eligibility, but then secondary operations are going to be eligibility only. So all rating factors are going to be off the primary operations. And secondary ops, that's something we're going to improve on with our new data model too. We're excited to release that. So it'll be instant yes, no, we're pulling data. We know exactly what's going on and what that contractor is actually doing versus you having to go back and forth with the contractor and they're not always sure what they're doing too. So
especially if they're starting up, right? They're like, I don't know, whatever's going to feed my family.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, that's great because I know that there's some Insuretech platforms out there that seem to be good platforms, but that alone, the multiple operations can make it the customer, the insured, ineligible based on those kind of operations. So that's really cool. You guys have the flexibility in there. Tell me.
We like that. I'd say that applies to BOP and GL. Professional liability is a little different, right? If you're doing multiple things, you need multiple policies for whatever you're doing and have those revenues for that. So for, especially for licensed folks, if you're doing taxes and insurance as an example, which we can see in this industry sometimes, you really need a policy to cover you for both.
Yeah. So, and I see you guys do the professional liability too. Is that the same easy online quote?
Same quote flow, same all. Yeah. We try to make the quote flow and the whole system very similar, even depending upon class codes, that there's not too many specific class code underwriting questions. If there are, they're very important. They have to be answered, obviously.
Sure.
But try to use our data enrichment to answer all those questions in the background so that our agent doesn't have to.
This is perfect. Okay. So tell me about like eligibility. I mean, is it like kind of across the board? I mean, like revenue wise, payroll wise, employee wise, stuff like that. Is it going to be the same from the BOP to the GL to the professional liability within your guys' underwriting guidelines of what you'll accept and what you won't accept? Or does it vary based on, industry or how does that?
Great question. Yeah, it is a global eligibility right now in terms of size and scope.
Makes it easier.
Yeah, the variance is going to be contractors, non-contractors, right?
Okay.
So for non-contractors, we do accept up to 10 million in revenue and 50 employees.
Nice size business.
Yeah, and then contractors, we go up to 5 million in revenue and 15 employees.
Well, still pretty good size business. I mean, most of your stuff will fit there. Boy, 80%. You ain't kidding, are you?
Yeah, not kidding. I'm trying not to.
Sure.
Trying to use the data mindset, right? Taking the actual data and looking at the raw data and coming off that.
For sure. And then having those kind of broad parameters to operate in no matter what industry they're in. I mean, with the exception of contractors, non-contractors, that makes it so much easier when an agent's looking at, where to quote this stuff, which, by the way, I saw you guys are partnered with Tarmica. So an agent has the multi-rater in the commercial multi-rater, because I know not all Insuretechs operate on that, that are similar to what you guys do. Not all of them operate on the multi-rater platform. So do you do?
Yeah, we do. We're API enabled. We want to be wherever our customers want to be. So whether that's through a partner like Tarmica or that's directly on our dashboard, or they want to build a direct integration and they have the flow to justify that direct integration. We even have a quick quote link where our agents can put that link on their website so their customers can go directly onto their website, rate, quote, bind, send it out to the customer via email, their email signature if they want to. Just want to be flexible to be where people want to be doing business with us.
Sure. So you could get a link for your agency and put it on your website, and then customers could just go on there, quote, and bind themselves.
Yes, they can.
It's pretty easy. Tell me about payment integration. I mean, is it because a lot of the old school way of doing things, right, is if you're doing anything outside of like the big, huge carrier box, like, your Hartfords or your Nationwides or your Travelers or stuff like that, you're doing the trust accounting, and you're having to do all that. But it sounds like if somebody can go online and bind on your website, sounds like you're just setting them up on a payment plan, or you're taking the payment in full, and then you're cutting agency the commission check. Is that fair?
Correct. 100% direct bill at this point, and
nice.
Credit card only right now, but
Perfect.
ACH is coming, so ACH will be an option as well. And we keep the payment options excuse me, very simple, very easy, and very efficient, and the commission comes later once premium is collected by us. Policy's effective, commissions come following that.
Sure. That's so cool. And for those of you who don't know, I just realized that maybe there's some listeners out there that don't know who Tarmica is. Tarmica is going to be up and coming. I think we're talking to them next week on this podcast as far as our agency software series. They're a commercial multi-rater. So, you've got your Easy Links and your other multi-raters that are out there for the personal lines. But really, there's been, recently there's been some people that have really come up and stepped up to handle the game of the commercial multi-rater. And Tarmica is one of those folks, so we're excited to talk to them. Now I see BTIS on here, and we have Paul with BTIS on. We've had him 2 or 3 times on this show. Nice. What do you guys do in BTIS?
Yeah, we partner with them as well. So if some folks don't want to handle another direct appointment, they want to run through a wholesaler for their business, our appetite and eligibility fit with a lot of the business they do. They write small commercial business, kind of all sizes, obviously known for contractors, especially smaller contractors. So some of those programs might fit on their platform better than ours, but I mean, for all the other business, we partner together. We have a great partnership. I actually live in Northern California very close, so know that team very well.
Yeah. So if I submit something and maybe it doesn't quite fit within the Coterie appetite, like, you guys will send it over to BTIS for me.
Oh, no, not necessarily. No, it's more the other way around, right? You're going to BTIS, and we're one of the carriers on their panel that they are going to place with Coterie in terms of appetite. So
with Coterie. Okay. Well, that's really cool too. I mean, either way, right? Like that's an awesome partnership to have in place. So tell me about the agent that because you're, VP of agency. What was it?
Agency distribution. Yeah.
Agency distribution. That's right. So when somebody comes to Coterie, it's Coterie.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. You got it right.
I think I said it wrong at the beginning, so my apologies.
No, it's good. We have a whole marketing bit about no matter how you say it, it's right. Just give us some business. So
there you go.
We got it.
As long as you spell it right? That's the main thing. So when an agency comes to you, what are you looking at? Because there's places out there that appoint anybody with a pulse. Mm-hmm. There's places out there that appoint nobody but their ideal person that they're sure is going to bring them $1 billion in business, or however they do it. And then you've got kind of that spectrum in between. Where are you guys at on that spectrum?
On that spectrum, we're closer to anybody with a pulse, but we're not there, I would say. Sure. We want people that can know insurance, have been in insurance. If you're a scratch agency, never done written commercial lines before, we're going to push you to one of our network partners who have a bunch of value-added tools to be able to get your agency up and running. So we have some network partners that we highly recommend that are very, very strong partners with us for scratch agencies like that. And the discussion's more nuanced than that for us because we're building distribution. We understand that there are opportunities out there. We don't want to just say no to agencies with certain parameters just because we've decided in ivory tower that makes sense. Right. We're always open to have a conversation and see if the partnership makes sense. Give it trial runs. We've done that in the past as well to see hey, does it actually work? We can give you access before actually giving you binding authority. So that way we can see, our appetite, our pricing is matching with what's going on locally in your market, because it's kind of hard to say with a broad brush that we will be competitive and we will have appetite for the risk flow that's coming in within a particular agency. So we find that to be very successful as well.
Sure. No, that totally makes sense. So tell me about your guys' geographic footprint. Where do you operate?
Yeah, great question. So for BOP and GL right now, we are live in 50 markets, including DC. The only market we're not live in is New York.
Okay.
New York, we are approved. We are just tying the back end to the front end. So we have all of our product is approved. So sometime in Q3, we will be live in New York. Unfortunately, in New York, we are going to remove contractors. So that's the one caveat. So we're just going to have Main Street business available, non-contractor business available in New York. We're hoping to make that change in the future, but New York has some unique laws and some unique things going on there that make it a little more difficult. So we want to be confident. Yeah, we don't want to enter a market into a line of business we're not confident in, have to remove it. That's the last thing we want to do. We want to make sure we can be profitable long term, plus be competitive in the near term with anything that we do. So until we're confident we can do that, we won't enter into a space.
Yeah, I like that philosophy, because there's a lot of places that try and purchase their market share, and then it kind of goes sideways.
Yeah, exactly. We want to, we do not want to do that. Now, can we ever predict we won't have to do that because market factors? Of course not. But, ideally, we would like to try to avoid that as much as possible.
Not the philosophy of the company. I like that. So, tell me, anything that I've missed asking you questions on here with Coterie, just kind of anything that you think would provide value or information that we haven't touched on yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think selling the dream, this is where we're at today. I talked a lot about current state with Coterie. Where we're going is we want to be the one-stop shop for all of small commercial business. Mm-hmm. So you got a small commercial account, you can come to us, you can place every single line of business and not have to go outside of Coterie. I mean, that's the goal. Workers' comp is going to be the next product on our roadmap. And then after that, there's, commercial auto and expanding our real estate appetite and, management lines, just all the lines that you might need as a small business that as an agent, you can come to us just and be done. So you don't have to be getting 4 or 5 different quotes from different markets all over the place. So that's the ultimate goal, because we are, staunch advocates of the entrepreneur and the small business. And so we want to be able to provide everything that small business might need.
That's so perfect. So, and this is all written on your guys' own paper?
No. So this is, we are a traditional Insuretech where we went out and partnered with different fronting carriers. So we write on 3 different carrier papers: Benchmark, ClearSpring, and Spinnaker. Okay. And then we have reinsurance partners on the back end. We are trying to bring all claims in-house. So that is going to be unique about us as well. So we want to be fanatical about the customer experience and the client experience. Claims is a huge part. That's where this actually becomes a real product that we're selling, right? So having that superior claims experience is really important for us. So almost all carriers we have it in-house. We have one more carrier we're working on bringing some of it in-house. When we launch workers' comp, it will have to be third party to begin with, but then we'll bring that in-house as well.
Great. When is that? So when's the timeline for bringing the rest of the? I know that's
TBD. We want to do it right. So I would say early 23 is a rough timeline, but just know that we don't want to release a product unless we feel confident in it being really superior and working absolutely how it should be.
Right. Well, that's really great. I mean, and I think that's one of the huge things is, is when we were agency owners, the customer claim experience, we were really lucky and we found very early on who was going to have the better claims experience and who didn't. And who quite frankly had, the better policy forms and things like that, because that makes all the difference in the world, because it's like you can't really control the claims experience as an agency or owner or agent within an agency, but you can certainly control where you put your customer, that to have that customer focused claims process, because that's important. And people get really mad when they have a bad claims experience, or when they have to start hiring attorneys or
and especially for agencies who, obviously we know we might have some of the commercial business for this client. There's also other business that personal lines, life. I mean, there's a whole gamut of business that an agency could potentially have with one of our customers. Yeah, exactly.
Claims, right?
Claims. Maybe they have a whole group health policy too. Like there's a lot of revenue that an agency can have on one of our customers that's beyond just the policies that we can see. So
for sure. Well, and I think that's a huge component, right? When you're looking at your E&O liability, we were just at a conference last week, and that was the whole topic of one of the speakers is, what to do to tie in your E&O liability. And something that wasn't talked about, but I think is huge is, the carriers that you're choosing to write your insureds with and what their policy forms look like, what their claims process looks like and stuff like that. Because, in the entire time we owned our agency, we had one of our customers out of thousands. We had one hire an attorney, and that was because of a policy form issue. And I mean, obviously it didn't go anywhere, but I mean, the customer was still, really upset.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing that we ever had because, other people go through the claims process. If they're happy with it, nobody lawyers up. So
yeah, exactly. Even if it's a denial, right? Sometimes the denial, it's just being honest and truthful and upfront and open lines of communication. That's the big thing. If insured has a claim where they feel like they deserve a claim, just as long as the insurance carrier and company is responding to that insured and having open lines of dialogue, they won't feel like they need to lawyer up, even when it's a denial.
Right. Yeah. Here is why. Here is your very clear explanation as to why, you lighting a burn barrel inside of the bottom floor of an apartment building wouldn't be covered. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, where can agents go to get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to coterieinsurance.com and then you go to, there's a little subsection that says agent. Let me pull it up right now, actually.
Yeah.
So not,
there's agents and brokers up top there?
Agents and brokers up top, exactly. So there's a little sub channel. I forget what it's called offhand here. Give me 2 seconds. It is one of the subtitles. Agents and brokers is what it's called. And then there's producer resources, and there's you can request. It says become a producer.
Yeah, right there. Perfect. We appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for making the time for us. This is, anytime we can bring great solutions to our agents, that's what we're all about here is trying to make the life of the agency owner and the independent agent easier. So, this obviously that's what you guys had in mind when you put this platform together.
Absolutely, what we have in mind. We have all kinds of things on top of, obviously there's the platform. We are working on some ways from a marketing perspective to help the agency owner as well, and increase their customers and increase their online presence and how they're found as well. Yeah. So we're thinking about a lot of different ways to help our agency partners that bring us all our business.
That's perfect. And, as an agency owner, that's who you want to be partnered with on a long-term basis, is somebody that thinks like that. So awesome. We really appreciate your time.
I appreciate being here. Thank you so much. Really